11 years ago, if you'd have told me that I would be a mother of 5, I would have laughed like the laughter of Sarah when the angel appeared to her and told her that they would give birth to a child in her old age. Or like Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, whose husband was made to be dumb for the 9 months. But today, looking back, I thank God because I am a mother of 5, and my name is Naomi Wangari Maina, and this is my story. Join me and enjoy. When I decided to get married, I made a prayer to God. And 2 things I was looking for. I was very clear on what I wanted. I wanted a husband or a partner who was God-fearing. And interesting enough, I wanted a partner from Nairobi. By that time, I lived in Naivasha. And the reason why I admired the men from Nairobi is a story for another day. But fast forward, where I used to work, my boss used to keep mentioning about a gentleman by the name Steve. And she used to say, I want to chase this young man from my house so that he can get a home of his own. And at that time, my antenna was very high and I used to ask myself, who is this Steve? I would love to meet this Steve. Interesting enough, I didn't know that he was destined to be my husband. One day while in church, I happened to bump into him, but I didn't know that was him. We just said engaged a hi, and that was it. But the following day, when I went to work, my boss told me, you got to meet Steve yesterday. And I was like, yeah, that is Steve. So I told her, yes, I got to meet him, but we really never talked anything big about, not even an exchange of contacts. 2 weeks later, I get to meet this Steve again, but in a different aspect, in the job aspect. And he now makes a formal introduction. My name is Stephen Maina, and I'm also an Anglican like you. And I've always desired to meet you because he also could hear my mention from the boss, who happens to be his cousin, that there's this girl who really preaches well, prays well. And so he also admired to meet this girl. Fast forward, we dated for about 8 months and officiated our wedding some 12 years ago. As every other couple, once you get married, there are decisions that you make. And one of the decisions that we decided on was how many children we would love to have if God would bless us with children. In our pen and paper, we had only 3 children, and that was the end of the chapter. After my 3rd born, I remember watching one of my greatest mentors today in the fitness industry. I listened to her, and she was talking about losing weight while both expectant and even after delivery. I enjoyed her talk and I actually joined her group. She has a Facebook page. I joined and I started working out. A year later with my 3rd born, I realized I've lost so much weight and I look good. And I decided, why not try a fitness baby? I want a baby where I'll work out during the pregnancy, and after the delivery, I can still work out. And probably, as they say, bounce back. And true to God, God honored my prayer and I got my 4th born. And we decided with my husband that now that is the end of us having children. But at the back of our minds, what we didn't know is that as every other person, we can plan and purpose. But the Bible clearly tells us that our plans are not the plans of God. Our minds are not the minds of God. And despite the fact that we had already closed the chapter of getting more children, God had a different story for us. During that period, I became so reluctant. Like, I didn't even expect that my body had reset back to 0. And in my relaxation, I remember one day coming from work, and I found my house manager had cooked some very nice managu, traditional vegetables and ugali. But the smell was what put me off. And at that juncture, I wondered, oh God, could it be again? And I denied. It was actually a denial for me. And I didn't want to think that I could be expectant again. My son is barely 2 years, and here I am. And some tests were run. Funny enough, there was no discovery of a pregnancy. And after 3 days of taking the medication, I realized I'm not changing. So I decided to get another dose of medications because I felt like what the first doctor gave me was not working. So I got this medicine, but on taking them of the first day, I really felt a lot of weakness and faint, and I almost collapsed at work. That is when it triggered me that it is not about being sick. I don't think I have malaria as I think. I don't think I have amoeba. And it's time to run the tests. So I bought the kit and I did the test while at work, funny enough. And I was holding my breath thinking, oh God, let it just be a dream. But fortunately or unfortunately, it was not a dream. Here we are again. We are expecting our fifth born. And the funny thing I did was capture that result and share it with my husband, who was at that time in church. And the thing he sends me was an emoji of him running to the showroom to get a bigger car now that the family is going to be big. That is actually what made me laugh and come back to reality that, yes, I'll be a mother soon and a mother to a fifth child. Presently, I'm a career mother. I have an 8 to 5 job. I'm a mechanical technician by profession. And my job is really a technical job and very demanding because I do the maintenance of machines where I work. And I have to I have to climb heights. I have to go to very small spaces at work. And I have to be at work very early and sometimes even leave very late. And one of the greatest challenge being a career woman in the technical field is the fact that, one, it is a male-dominated field. And number two, the fact that I'm still a mother. And sometimes whatever runs in my mind is, how are my children? And the challenge of balancing the idea of being at work from 8 to 5 and sometimes extending odd hours, and also working sometimes over the weekends, over holidays, balancing that and my family and my husband, and also that I am back to class, that is the greatest challenge. Managing 5 children is quite an uphill task, but I have the greatest support system I can ever ask for. One aspect is that I am a God-fearing woman, and therefore God comes first. And secondly, my husband. Steve has been a great pillar in helping manage our children. And there is no one time I ever felt like these children are a burden to me or they just belong to me. One thing I can say is he has seen his children grow from right during pregnancy and after delivery. And there are instances I can actually highlight because they really make me feel the input he has put in terms of managing the children. One of them is when our firstborn daughter had to have an operation. I remember by that time I was expectant with my secondborn, and because I could not manage to be in the hospital with my first one, he actually had to be admitted with her in the hospital. That was quite a sacrifice. Another incident is where my thirdborn son had to have a radiology carried out on him. By then, I was nursing I didn't have a nursing baby, but I was expectant with my fourth child. And he actually had to go and also spend the time in hospital with him. I've also had instances where I have to work out of the country and he has been left to manage the children. And I would say they love him and they acknowledge him as their father because he has always been the present dad, not just a father, but a present father. He has always also encouraged me. I remember at one time I used to behave in a funny way where I would get home, lock myself in the kitchen so that I can try to run around the activities of the day and then go to the bedroom and change. And one day he asked me, do you think locking these children away from what you're doing is healthy for you and for the children? And I was like, it may not be okay, but what do you want me to do? And he told me, the moment you lock yourself out of these children, they will feel like they are a burden to you. And at that juncture, he told me, just let them be. Go to the kitchen. Don't lock the door behind you. Let them come. Let them bother you if you feel it's a bother at that time. But once they realize you're doing something, they'll stay away. And that was a great eye opener. And for every mother, that should be a point to take home. Don't lock your children away from where you are. Let them come. It is only for a few minutes. So they used to come all over me and they're like, Mommy, do this, Mommy, do this, Mommy, come do this. And it would only take like 5 or 10 minutes. After that, they all go to their duties. But that really helped me and helped the bond between my children and I, and also my husband and I. Number 3 is my house manager. My house manager has been with our family for the last 8 years so far, and we really thank God because of her. She has been this woman who, number one, she really loves these children, and they also love her back. And we rarely have arguments or confrontations with her. Whenever something is not done to my satisfaction, sometimes I have to do it, or I find a way that is calm and respectful to be able to talk with her. So she has also been a great pillar in managing our children. And I believe through this journey, it is not just because of me, it is not how good a parent I am, but it is because of a support system that has been a pillar in this journey. A singer once sang and said, Kila mtoto huja na sahani yake. I never thought this would be a reality. But looking at my 5 children, I realize how true the statement is, that every child is a blessing to a family. And the Bible says, many children are a blessing. And the Bible tells us that many children are like many arrows in the hunter's quiver. I never thought this statement would apply one day in my life. We have been born and raised 2 of us, and here I am with 5 children. And every child is a blessing to our family. All the children that I have different character traits, and I have learned to treat them as so. Whenever I get back from work and I find them waiting for me, and they are all running to me, one is telling me, Mom, this one did this to me, this one did this to me, this one happened, someone broke the plate, another one broke a glass. It feels good to see them like that and to have them celebrate my day. As much as I may have had stresses at work, they become a stress reliever. And many of us who are parents, I believe we can resonate with that. And I want to tell us, as parents, in this generation, don't fear having many children. Don't fear what the society will say. The society will always talk, whether good or bad. What is your desire? Don't sit back and say, I wish I got many children. I wish I knew. Don't let that be your vocabulary. And for those who still don't have the blessing of a child, children are a blessing from God. And no human being, and actually that is one aspect that God has denied the devil, that the devil cannot do procreation. Children come from God. Be patient with him. And when the time is right, he is going to bless you with your own children. And As much as having children, 4 children under 10 years is quite tricky, but God always provides for them. There are times I walk into the supermarket and the first station that I run to is the diaper section because I have 2 children that are still in diapers. But do you know what? God has never allowed us to lack. So you may be out there, you may be having children, you may be wondering how you'll raise them up. Let me remind you, our God is able, and He will never give you children that you cannot handle. Every one of us goes through or will go through a situation when you cling on to the only belief that you have. In the middle of the turbulence surrounding you, when trying times are so hard to endure, in the middle of what seems to be your darkest hour, hold fast your heart and be assured that there will be a morning after all. Wait for it. That is my story. We look forward to the next episode and much more as we journey together in this journey of family life.